The delights of Mario Bauza's theme, Rumba Abierta, from the Afro-Cuban jazz suite Tonga. And Mario conducting with this imposing organization. I found another emissary and ambassador of the Afro-Cuban and salsa movement on the East Coast. A lot of you know the name Ray Barretto, artist of the conga drums and percussion, and his recent projects, Handprints and Ancestral Messages, recorded for the Concord Picante catalog. Ray has been observing and participating in this Latin fusion for a long, long time.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you this evening?
Oh, fine.
This is quite an occasion. We've lost one of the great pioneers, haven't we?
Indeed.
When you think about Mario Bauza, what do you think about?
Well, my first recollections, I was a young teenager. I was about 13, 14 years old. I was always tall for my age, and my mother would take me out to different ballrooms because I loved listening to live music.
The Palladium, for instance?
No, this was actually just before the Palladium. This was little local clubs around the Bronx and Brooklyn, Queens, you know, before the Palladium became the Mecca. And at that time, Machito was for many years, was the number one Latin band. And I remember standing in front of the bandstand and being blown away by the majesty of that band and seeing Mario in the saxophone section standing up conducting, and he looked like he was strictly business on that stage. Everybody was Machito was the guy with the big smile and the big the public relations guy, but Mario was the guy that was cracking the whip on the band, you know, and I was impressed with that. And later on through the years, when I joined Tito Puente's band, it was always a war between Tito and Machito and Tito Rodriguez. And for my money, Machito always maintained the best of the big bands. It was the closest band to Basie or a traditional big American band, and it was Mario's experience having been with Cab Calloway and been with
Chick Webb.
And he brought that experience to the Machito band, and so they had in their writing and in their arrangements, they had the most the closest sound to an American big band, a traditional American big swing band. That was always for me just a cut ahead of the other Latin big bands.
When you think about those days when you were standing in front of the band, were you thinking in terms of playing congas, any percussion?
Oh, no, that came later in my life. I was a fan and a lover, but for myself, I had no idea of what I wanted to do. As a matter of fact, that music was my basic escape from a poor area and the kind of poverty that was for many young Latinos in New York. And so I joined the Army when I was 16, and I was stationed in Munich, Germany, and I heard Chano Pozo with Dizzy Gillespie when the bebop movement was happening, and I was a young GI, and that's how I got away from the Bronx and the the slums and the stuff that through the army. And then I heard that record in particular, and that turned my life around. Chano Pozo became kind of a role model for me and my inspiration. As a matter of fact, in our new CD that you mentioned, Ancestral Messages, I have a composition song for Chano on it that seems to be very well liked. So when I came out of the Army, I started to just go to different jam sessions and meet many musicians, and I got to meet Charlie Barker and Dizzy and Roy Haynes and Max Roach and a lot of folks, and then little by little I started to get calls for work, and one thing led to another, and I wound up taking Mongo Santa Maria's place with Tito Puente when Mongo went to California to play with Cal Jader. So I spent 4 years with Tito, and so I was now actually involved in facing Machito's big band, my being a member of Tito's band.
How did you feel about that?
Oh, of course I was proud because, as it turned out, Tito at that time was actually the hottest of all the Latin bands. He had managed to work himself into a situation where he was top billed all the time, and but in my heart of hearts, I always thought that Machito's band had the bigger, fatter sound, the better arrangements, the more rich sounding arrangements, and all through the years, the Machito band to this day remains my favorite Latin band of all time.
Ray Barretto, that in fact was due to the contribution, the arrangements of Mario Bauza, his discipline and his conducting skills.
Yeah, Mario was the unsung hero of that band.
Did you ever have a chance to meet him?
I'm sorry?
Did you meet Mario?
Oh, of course. We were very close.
And
I knew him, in fact, I saw him maybe a few months before passing their last engagement at the Blue Note in New York. And I went by to say hello. And the good thing, there's someone once said, give me my flowers while I live. And at least Mario got some bouquets thrown his way the last year or two of his life. He did manage to get some recognition and some accolades, so that I don't know if I can't speak for him. I don't know if there was a bittersweet thing about his sentiments, but there was a public awareness that his contributions had been overlooked, and finally they were coming to light.
Ray Barretto, thank you very much for taking time on a night when you're usually working to talk about the Afro-Cuban movement and the leadership of Mario Bauza, and it is a privilege to touch base and talk with you.
I appreciate your call.
Good luck in what you're doing, and we'll start to read the ancestral messages, and we'll review handprints as well.
Fine. Appreciate that.
Thank you, and good night.
Good night.